my baby sister. So it first started when my parents hired a babysitter for us. At first she was really sweet, and then she started being really mean out of nowhere. She started hitting us when we would cry, and she would blow cigarette smoke in our face. One time when she was driving us home from the grocery store, my baby sister was crying really hard the whole entire car ride. When we got home, she got me out of the car and brought in the groceries, but she left my 2-year-old sister in the car. It was 103 degrees, and she left her in there. That's honestly when I first started becoming scared of her. But why I became terrified of her is because one time my parents went on vacation for like a week, and one night my babysitter ordered pizza. My parents sent the babysitter the money for it. It was for all of us, but she wanted to get anchovies on the pizza. I told her I didn't really want that, but she ordered it anyway. When the pizza came, I didn't really want to eat it, and instead of her being like, well, I'll just make you something else, she locked me into a room for 3 days. She would only let me out to use the bathroom, but I wasn't allowed to eat anything. After that, she made starving us a regular thing. Then my parents came back and took us to the hospital for a checkup, like for part 2. Here's another babysitting horror story. So like I said, my parents came back from vacation and took us to the hospital for a checkup. They took us to the hospital because they noticed we were getting really skinny. When we got to the hospital, the doctor said my 2-year-old baby sister only weighed 19 to 20 pounds. And I was 13 at the time, I only weighed 90 pounds. The look on my mom and dad's face was enough. So when we got back into the car, I finally told them about what the babysitter had been doing. Now hold on tight, because the way my mama reacted to this, you would have thought somebody possessed her. Immediately, my mom started going off on my dad, like yelling and screaming at him. And he just had his hands in his face. I was so confused as to what was going on. See, I didn't know my dad when I was younger. He passed away before I was born. And so I found out that my current dad at the time wasn't my real dad. And I didn't know the truth until this whole babysitting situation. She babysat me for like a month, and then my parents fired her. I'm 23 now. I honestly could have forgotten all about her. Well, just last year, my mom told me that that babysitter was my dad's ex-wife. Well, anyways, this is what my mom did to my stepdad's ex-wife after we went to the hospital. This is part 3 of my babysitting horror story. So like I said, I finally told my parents about what the babysitter had been doing to me and my baby sister. I was so confused as to why my mom started going off on my dad right away after I told her, but 10 years later, I'm finally finding out that my babysitter was my stepdad's ex-wife. My mom told me that she had been really iffy about letting my stepdad's ex-wife babysit me and my little sister, but she only agreed with it to save money. So my mom told my dad to get out of the driver's seat. She got into the driver's seat and she started driving. I wasn't exactly sure where we were going, and my dad didn't know either, but we ended up at the babysitter's house. Luckily for her, she wasn't home, because my mom would have dropped her. Shit, she might have even got a murder charge that day. But my mom told me to get a rock and to just start chucking them at her windows. So that's what I did. There, me and my mom were chucking rocks at my babysitter's window, and my dad was watching us holding my baby sister. My mom didn't take her to court or anything. I'm not exactly sure why, probably something to do with my dad, but my mom and my dad cut contact with her completely, and they fired her. This is why Bring Your Pet to School Day is banned from my school. I just want everyone to know that this was bound to happen. The kids at my school are super irresponsible. I don't know why the teachers thought this was a good idea. I was one of those really irresponsible kids, and I didn't pay attention to which pets were allowed to be brought to the school. They weren't allowed to stink, they had to be a certain size, and you weren't supposed to bring them on the bus. If you were bringing a pet, you had to be a car rider. Well, I might have broken some of these rules. So I had a pet milk snake. It was about 3 feet in size, and I brought it to school without telling my parents because you had to get a parent signature form. And no, I was not a car rider. I brought it on the bus. I was carrying it in my backpack, and my backpack was all the way zipped up, so there was no way for it to get out. So I got on the bus, and then like 5 minutes later, my bus buddy got on the bus. Asked him, did you bring your pet to school? He goes, no, I'm on the bus, aren't I? I was like, okay, I'm on the bus and I brought mine. He tells me we weren't allowed and that he has to see it. When I opened my bag to show him, it wasn't there. Then I hear my bus driver scream and she swerves the bus. Like for This is why Bring Your Pet to 2 of why Bring Your Pet to School Day is banned from my school. So like I said, I'm on the bus and I open my bag to show my friend my pet snake. But when I open my bag, it wasn't there. Then I hear the bus driver scream and she swerves the bus. He yells that there's a snake on the bus, which causes panic. Kids start crying, some try to jump out the bus window. Like, it was literal chaos. The bus driver almost crashed the whole bus. But she was able to steady it out. Nobody knew where this snake was. I honestly just tried to act like I didn't know what was going on. Like, what snake? Never heard of her. Is that some type of drink? Anyways, so luckily, I looked across the seat from me. The seat in front of them, under it, was the snake. My friend was sitting on the outside of the bus seat, so I told him to grab it, try to get him to grab it before anybody sees it, but he didn't, so I just launched over there and I grabbed it, put it in my bag, and continued to act like nothing happened. Okay, so I'm running out of time, so I'm going to zoom past a little bit, but I'll come back on the next part. My school lets us carry our backpacks anywhere we want, so I had the snake in my backpack all day. But 2 periods before chemistry, I decided to let it loose so I could skip the class. This is part 2 of why bring your pet to school day is banned from my school. Okay, so I'm backtracking a little bit. So after the snake was let loose on the bus, once we got to the school, somebody had to come onto the bus and figure out the situation, what was going on. They asked if anybody brought their pet on the bus. Obviously, I did not give myself up, and they ended up just concluding that a random snake got on the bus. Okay, so back to where I was at. I had a chemistry test that day as well. Like I said, I was very irresponsible, so I did not study for my test, or did I care for this snake. So I knew the chaos that it would bring to let it loose, so that's what I did. So it could cause chaos, so then I didn't have to take my chemistry test. And half an hour after I let it loose, on the announcements, they tell everybody to stay in their rooms. There is a snake on the loose. Apparently, it was found in a bathroom in a toilet. Somebody sat down on that toilet and had the worst time discovering that snake. Low-key feel bad for them. Once they found it, they put it on the announcements that they found the snake and whoever lost it can come get it. They described it, so I went to go get it. So this is part 3 of why. Part 4 of why bring your pet to school day is banned from my school. Like I said, Jesus Christ, I almost died. So like I said, I went down to the office to claim my snake. I obviously got into a lot of trouble for that. They called my parents. My parents came down to the school. So I got suspended. My parents grounded me for months and months and months. I was not allowed to leave my house. I couldn't go out to see my friends. But I was only suspended for like a week. And when I went back to school, everybody knew that it was me who brought that snake to school. And so the person who sat down on the toilet seat and found the snake knew that it was me too. And that person didn't say anything to me, but I did get word that that person was very pissed because that snake went straight up there. You know. So after that, they just didn't allow kids to bring their pets to school anymore, which is reasonable. I kind of ruined it for everybody else, but I don't really care because it's not that serious. But people can't just hate on me because there was this other kid who brought a spider and it got loose in class. But they were able to find it really quickly, so it didn't escape the classroom or anything. But I did what I had to do, so. So this is part 4 of